Might be all bad news in the Doctor Who diary as well, but somehow I doubt it.
It's definitely not all bad news in the diary. You will be very, very pleased to know. Yes, we are off on another magical mystery tour back through the decades. This week, incredibly, well, look, it's September, so it was always traditionally the start of Doctor Who, certainly through sort of the 80s at minimum and the late 70s. So you won't be surprised at all to discover that there were 15 new episodes screening this year. In which, so it's funny, isn't it? We went through the summer, and I was telling you there's one episode, there was 2 episodes. Now there's 15. So yeah, I mean, we can't possibly talk about all of them. Tomb of the Cybermen was kicking off in 67, The Mask of Mandragora in 76, Horror of Fang Rock, one of my absolute golden favourites, was kicking off today in 1977. Destiny of the Daleks was well in its stride. The Leisure Hive was well in its stride. 87 brought us Time in the Rani. Okay, it went through its rock patches even then. And 89 Battlefield. But to begin with tonight, we are setting the coordinates for the Stellian Galaxy and a mysterious planet known colloquially as Ravolox, because it's exactly 38 years since the epic The Trial of a Time Lord kicked off back in 1986.
How long again?
30, I know, Dan, you feel old, don't you? 38 years. It's terrifying, isn't it? You are 5:45 this week, absolutely back in 1986. Really, the final full story of the greatest writer that Doctor Who has ever known, in my opinion, the great Robert Holmes, in his final full set of scripts. Was The Mysterious Planet, the first 4 episodes of The Trial of a Time Lord. First 25-minute episode since 1984, because, of course, the previous season had all been 50-minute episodes. And it is, of course, well, in all honesty, rather bizarrely, it's the first time we actually see the Doctor and Perry actually get on and enjoy their time together. It's quite heartwarming when you watch. I
like this
particular episode above every episode in the season. This episode, it was just like reconnecting with a couple of old friends who'd sort of gone through a bit of a bad patch and had come out the other side.
A bad patch that lasted 18 months.
Yes.
Simon, I'm quite a fan of Colin Baker because he's not my favourite Doctor, but I've always rated him, and I believe that he was never really better, and that this era never felt better than in this precise 25 minutes.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with you. I think he comes into his own in this season, and considering he has gone through 18 months of sort of doubt and uncertainty as to whether the show will even come back. So he must have been not in a particularly good mental state, but he comes back absolutely on top of his game, I think. In this episode in particular, I find episode 1 particularly haunting. That might be because, as I've said before on the show, I was lucky enough to be in an audience of about 1,000 people sitting watching it at Panopticon on a massive cinema screen. And it still was one of the greatest Doctor Who moments of my life. There we go, Panopticon 7. And they specifically booked it around this weekend so that it would coincide with the screening of episode 1.
So for the people who don't know, the Panopticon was always the annual largest event organised by the Doctor Who Appreciation Society, wasn't it? And this one took place in Devon, not London?
No, this was London. This was London.
I'll work out where it was. Oh, okay.
This was in London. You're probably you're looking at the address for it.
I'm trying to work out where it was. Oh, no, you're right. South Kensington. Sorry, yeah.
Correct. And so, these were massive events, huge conventions. And as I said, they coincided this one to fit with episode 1. the Trial of a Time Lord, and it just, the atmosphere that day just couldn't have been more electrifying, because of course, you were at a convention, it was all great fun, but you knew that at 5:45 we were all sitting down in this massive auditorium, all to watch Doctor Who together. And when the lights all went out, and when we first heard the new theme tune for the very first time anybody had heard the new theme tune, the atmosphere was electric. People did let off party poppers a little bit early. We were all given party poppers.
Did we know we were getting a new version of the theme tune? I think we did, didn't we? But
I don't think we did. Things weren't as known as much in those days.
No.
I remember being at Panopticon the year before this, and I remember Colin Baker teasing episode 1 of the Trial of a Time Lord and saying that he'd seen the first 90 seconds of the Trial of, and it was the best opening of any episode that he'd ever seen. And boy, was he right in spades, because I still maintain it's the greatest opening of any Doctor Who episode of all time. Period. We're done.
Even now, nearly 4 decades on. Oh, I needed 4 decades on. It still looks sensational when you watch it back now.
Yeah, it does look sensational, and it sounds sensational. I've long said, and I really do stand by this, that the 60 seconds of music in that sequence is the greatest music cue in Doctor Who history ever, in my opinion.
Will Hadcroft agrees with you, Simon. He's watching in the live chat and says Dominic Lynn's music in that first episode is so melancholy.
Oh, it is, Will. I find that first episode really quite haunting. And when they're going down into Marble Arch and they're realising what it is down there, it's with atmosphere, this episode. Have you seen this, Jack? Have you seen the Trial of a Time Lord?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
What's your take on it? Because you weren't there, you didn't sort of get what we were getting, which back after an 18-month hiatus that it might never have come back from. So you watching it just completely cold as a fresh episode.
Well, this entire arc was the first thing I watched for Colin Baker, and
really, wow,
yeah. So I was immediately drawn in, to be honest, because again, like the whole atmosphere and. Like the whole atmosphere, it's something that Doctor Who these days doesn't really replicate as well.
No, it doesn't.
And it's just like I actually had goosebumps when I first watched it, and I think the first time I watched it was when it was re-released as part of the collection range. So I had that extra polish as well. And it was really, really good.
It is. It's a stunning the model sequence that you see there that opens the Trial of Time Lord, sadly, is the last time you will ever see any film in Doctor Who until the Paul McGann movie. That's the end of film, because after this, everything is shot on video, and it is a shame for me. It does suffer for being shot on video because it suddenly does look like a cheap show. But that was a decision by JNT and it was a reasonable decision because it was a cost-cutting measure, and they'd been told they've got to save costs. And interestingly, that opening title sequence of that model was by far the most expensive sequence in Doctor Who to date at that point. And it probably still stands now if you extrapolate out the actual cost of it, which was £8,000 in 1986. If you convert that to today's money, it's probably still one of the most expensive 60 seconds in Doctor Who history, because it was the most incredible model effect sequence to shoot. It was all done with motion control cameras. That it took weeks to film because they had to do so many passes on it on a motion control, computer controlled camera. And I say it cost £8,000, which was a heck of a lot of money in those days. Colin Baker was rather critical of the cost. So although he was hugely complimentary that it was the best opening that you could possibly have to bring back Doctor Who with a bang, he has sort of pointed out since, but that was where it was blown on the opening 60 seconds. So there was precious little left to make the rest of the season.
You can see what he means in principle. We were there go.
He has got a point. It is a reasonably fair comment. Jonathan Powell, as I say, we commented about Robert Holmes being, as I say, I think the greatest writer on Doctor Who. Jonathan Powell hated the script, and look, let's be honest, it is by far from being the best Robert Holmes script by any means.
Yeah. It lacks something, doesn't it? It lacks energy, I suppose.
It lacks a lot. It lacks an enormous amount. As much as I love certainly episode 1, it tails off, and it's the greatest. And Jonathan Bauer's critical, which shocked Eric Sayward at the time, and it was literally at this point, while they were making the Mysterious Planet, that Eric Sayward's heart left the job. I think it's safe to say, and he was never the same again on Doctor Who. Jonathan Powell's criticism of Robert Holmes's scripts just broke him, really, because he had so much faith in Robert Holmes, and so to have Jonathan Powell really very critical to the extent where you're going to have to rewrite these scripts, it just came as such a blow to Eric Sayward that he never recovered. I think it's fair to say it was due to be directed, this particular episode, by the first 4 episodes by Graham Harper. Which is a great pity that he was unavailable to do it. He was already booked, which is a great pity because I think he would have really moved this up to the next level.
I think that would have lifted it quite considerably.
Yeah. I mean, Nicholas Mallet does a decent job. Sadly, Nicholas Mallet, of course, is no longer with us. He died very, very young. But does a decent job with it. But I think in Graham Harper's hands, this would have been a masterpiece. And
it's the first one that's all shot on video, isn't it? So the inserts aren't on film, so it loses something there. I wonder what Graham Harper would have made of that.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, isn't it? Because so much of the good stuff in Androzani and Revelation is the stuff that's on film. So yeah, would Graham Harper have responded as well? Difficult to say.
We flushed out some of the fans here, though. Simon Ezra Goldstein says the Mysterious Planet is an excellent episode. This is how the Colin Baker era could and should have been. So people have got a certain amount of time for this, I think.
As I say, it dips in episodes 3 and 4 in particular. I think it sort of just goes off the rails somewhat. But episode 1, the setup, I do think is very good, and I think shows good promise.
I love this comment here from Rob Alexander. As a fellow Rat fan, he recalls sitting through the excruciating Roland Rat the series. I loved Roland Rat the series.
I love
Roland alone.
But it was excruciating. It was excruciating. But yeah, I love Roland.
It was a terrible waste. Corvin is in the live chat there as well. Corvin says it's a bit like the Crotons, plot and theme-wise. Yeah, it is.
I was thinking that, Corvin. The closest comparison to this would be with the Crotons, I would say, on a Robert Holmes level.
And Domgo notices how that special effects sequence there, the famous one, wouldn't be out of place in a Star Wars movie. I think that's pretty fair as well.
I think it's 100% fair. It still gives me goosebumps now. But as I say, we have to credit Dominic Glynn with bringing it was in a stunning
sequence, it to life.
But he really brings it to life. That music is just incredible. And of course, that was sent in as a demo. Dominic Glynn sent it in as a demo, purely from the script that John Ed Turner had given him. We were chatting to him only on Saturday, weren't we, Dan Dominic Glynn? At Hooverville and reminiscing over this. And he's still very bashful over the fact that I still praise it, and I really do. I genuinely do mean I think it's the best piece of music in Who. My favourite fact from finish on a little bit of silliness. My favourite fact from the
always finish on silliness. Always,
we always do. Is that Colin Baker, Tony Selby, and Joan Sims thoroughly enjoyed themselves having pudding eating competitions in the hotel at the end of filming each day. And I whether you can guess who won the competition.
Ooh, my money would be on the lady. I'd say Joan Sims would have aced it.
You're going with Joan Sims. Do you want to place a bet, Matt?
Yeah, I'm going to say Joan Sims.
You're going to come on then, Jack.
I'm going to say Joan Sims as well.
3 for Joan Sims. You're all wrong. I'm ever so sorry.
Oh no! Who won? Who won it?
Of course, it was Colin Baker.
God!
Well, it depends. Did the pudding have alcohol in it? Because
apparently the other two gave in after 3 puddings, and apparently Colin managed a 4th pudding.
Bloody hell! Everybody in the live chat guessed correctly. Oh, except for you, Daniel. Daniel said Tony Selby, and so did Tony L. So yeah.
Wouldn't you love to have been a fly on the wall in the pub on location on that particular evening?
I'm still reeling from the fact it's however long ago. But, Simon, what a fantastic evening that was. I watched it at home. I say I was enjoying Roland Matt. I was quite happy with it, but it was nervous excitement with which I watched this episode. So it's nice to have it brought back to life.
Do you like Trial of a Time Lord? Well, this story in particular, The Mysterious Planet, as we're calling it.
yeah, I remember seeing it because I got to see it around the second time around. I didn't see the original airing of it, so it was on at 3:00 in the morning. So I can't really remember. But yeah, I mean, seeing Joan Sims in it was just I was so cool because I love Joan Sims.
Yeah,
I
great.
love the Carry On film, so I was like, oh, I know that actor for once. So, yeah, because you know how they used to get big names and everything, and like a lot of the time, it was like a Ken Dodd or whatever. It was like a Who,
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Somebody else was up for the role of Katrina.
We only talked about this recently, and I can't remember who you said it was.
Somebody whose birthday we were celebrating. Oh, I know who it was. It was Jean Marsh. Was it Jean Marsh?
Yes, it was.
Jean Marsh,
definitely.
Jean Marsh was up for the role of Katrina. There we go. Anyway, so there we go. So 38 years old, incredibly. The Mysterious Planet, written, as I say, for me, by the world's certainly Doctor Who's greatest writer. So brilliantly, this is a lovely segue, because we go from the greatest Doctor Who writer of all time, in my opinion, to what is arguably, maybe, the worst writer of Doctor Who of all time, and that would be the great Chris Chibnall. Arguably difficult, open to debate. Nobody got this in the chat, which Matt Smith episode we were talking about. It's 12 years since dinosaurs on a spaceship.
This is painful.
Nobody got it in the chat.
I remember where I was when I saw that.
I suspect nobody got it in the chat simply because nobody kind of remembers it. Where were you, Matt, when you saw this?
I was actually visiting my sister in Melbourne, and I was like, what the F is this? I was just like, have they ran out of ideas already? I was just like, oh no, what a bad idea.
Am I the only person who likes this episode? I mean, I haven't seen it for a very long time, but I liked this at the time, and I liked it the last time I saw it. I know.
Well, you are allowed to. You are allowed to. As I say, Tony, it's there are plenty of people that love Chris Chibnall as a writer. Absolutely.
I'm not a Chibnall fan, so now I'm starting to wonder what I was thinking.
This was the one that had me really worried about Chibnall, because once it got announced, I was like, oh no, that's a dinosaur guy.
I'm trying to think he did. I'm trying to think he did write this episode, didn't he? I'm suddenly having a. It wasn't it? Yeah.
He wrote 2 for Series 7, if I remember correctly.
He wrote The Power of Three. The Power of Three. That was season 7 as well.
I liked. No, I thought that one was quite. Well, I'll say it was good enough. It was better than this.
Well, you see, I mean, I have to be brutally honest. He wrote one of my favourite episodes of New Who, which was 42.
Oh, I love.
I like that as well.
I absolutely love 42. So I have to speak as I find. I really, I still think it's one of the best episodes of New Who. This Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, I think I probably wouldn't say is one of the best episodes of New Who. I have to be honest, I can't remember a single thing about this episode. I don't even remember Matt. Nefertiti. I remember Nefertiti.
Up in your eyes, yeah.
Of course, David Bradley was in there as Solomon. That was his first appearance in Doctor Who, wasn't it? As Solomon.
It had Rory's father in it too, didn't it?
Yeah, the bloke at the Fast Show and Harry Potter. What's his name?
Yeah, and that Father Brown. Yeah.
There was Rupert Graves was in it. Rupert Graves, which great actor from Sherlock now. David Mitchell, of course, did Robot 1, and Robert Webb was Robot 2. There's Heretic OSJC saying 42 is absolutely his worst written episodes. You see, that's what I love about Doctor Who. It's horses for courses. It's whatever works for you. So there we go. So we say, David Mitchell, Robert Webb played the robots. The robot costumes, believe it or not, were remodeled from, I'm sorry, I'm laughing, from ones that were used on a CBBC story, television show called Mission 2110 or 2110 or whatever it was. So that was, apparently so.
Like horrible
that's what they were on. And I'm struggling to remember much more. The CGI. Oh, here we go. The CGI models of the Raptors are the same ones as those used in the show Primeval. Do you remember that TV show Primeval?
Yeah, loved it.
Yeah,
I met a couple of the stars. Yeah.
It's funny you should say that. I did know this. I thought the dinosaurs in this were quite good, and I have a bit of a soft spot for Primeval. I like that show.
Too. It got silly at the end, but it was first few seasons when the main cast started changing. I didn't go much on it.
Everything gets silly towards the end, doesn't it? Let's be perfectly honest. Everything gets silly.
You know when they've run out of ideas.
Even this show.
We haven't run out of ideas yet.
And I seem to remember. Am I right in remembering that Matt Smith kisses Rory in this episode?
Yeah.
Does he?
I think it was an improvised scene, I think.
It was. You're quite right, Jack. It was improvised, apparently.
It sounds like organised chaos around this time on Doctor Who, doesn't it?
I mean, I'm trying to. Yeah, that's about the most interesting stuff I can find to tell you about dinosaurs on a spaceship. I hope that's good enough.
we're going to comment. I think these dinosaurs still do look pretty good. Rob Alexander asks, what would Barry Letts have made of the dinosaurs? Well, historically,
very jealous.
Something like that. Yeah.
I like them. I do. I don't care. I would watch them over anything.
You see, some things do get better. We can do some stuff better these days.
Mark Williams, this is Corvin in the live chat, who says that Mark Williams is very good in it, but then he's good in everything. I quite like this episode, and it is rare insofar as the Doctor ruthlessly kills or allows to die the character of Solomon. I'd forgot about that. Yeah, it was a very steely moment from Matthew Smith, wasn't it? Yeah, great stuff.
Yes,
and I thought David Bradley was superb in this.
I just can't remember much about it. I mean, I think, to be honest, it was possibly a mistake calling it Dinosaurs on a Spaceship in the first place. I know they did it as a sort of they did it as a joke, didn't they? As a sort of Mickey take on Snakes on a Plane.
Yes, because that was out a couple of years earlier, wasn't it? The big Samuel L. Jackson movie.
Yeah.
But that was renowned as sorry, I've just did Lee Smith's comments in there about Posh Paws. Yeah, I remember Posh Paws, and that does look like Posh Paws. You're quite right, Lee. But yeah, Snakes on a Plane had been ridiculed for its title and had been reviled as a load of rubbish as a result. So it's probably asking for trouble by calling an episode Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. I don't know. I just can't. And I remember just Nefertiti running around was just a bit random.
Oh, I did like that.
I don't know.
Particularly what she was wearing was quite sexy.
I think Dinosaurs on a Spaceship is a lot better than Space Babies. Let's just say that.
Well, don't you slag off Space Babies. That that I love that episode. Sadako24 says that I've had it with these motherfucking dinosaurs on this motherfucking spaceship.
Did anybody say that? Nobody said that.
That's a direct quote from the Samuel L. Jackson movie.
Brilliant. I've never seen Snakes on a Plane, and
we have fans. We have some fans of the classic Barry Letts T-Rex, including Stephen Braddock in the live chat, who loves the classic T-Rex.
Well, I remember being terrified by it as a kid, and I was 6 years old at the time. So chew it, chew it, yes.
Oh.
The old Chewits advert. Do you remember? And the dinosaur at the side of
I was thinking that was from an advert.
The block of flats, didn't it? God, I love that advert.
I have seen that one. Yes.
I love that
animated,
advert.
isn't it? Is it like
I think
stop motion animation one?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think in the same way that when we now go back and watch movies that were made in the mid to late noughties up to the sort of the mid teens, whatever we're going to call that decade, then now when we see a lot of those films, because it was before the culture war and before wokeness, a lot of the movies at that time that seemed a bit shit. I was talking to somebody about this earlier on, come to think of it. It was The Rabbi from Another Planet. And you watch some of the films back then that seemed a bit sort of low tier, low energy, or not distinctive enough. You watch them now, and they seem really good because we've had years and years of dross in between. I think if I went back to Dinosaurs on a Spaceship now, I'd probably think it was absolutely fantastic and very frothy fun. Just like a lot of people have said in the live chat here, how much fun this episode is. So, in all truth, I haven't watched this for a really long time.
Me neither. I'm feeling a bit guilty now. I feel like I should go back and watch this.
Same here, to be fair.
But that's what the diary's for.
Going to watch Jodie Whittaker.
God, no! You got to draw the line somewhere, mate. Got to draw the line somewhere.
I know. I got warned. Charlotte told me.
Like Russell T Davis, Chibnall is a better drama writer, says Vanessa Law. Probably.
Yeah. Well, as I say, he did the best episode of Torchwood as well. So
yes.
I remember being very chuffed when he was coming on board to run the show because I actually thought some of his episodes were actually some of the better episodes. He wrote The Hungry Earth, didn't he? And I loved The Hungry Earth. I didn't like episode 2, but episode 1 was great of that. So yeah, he did some good stuff actually.
So even if your memory hasn't been completely sort of enhanced by Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, maybe it's been jogged a little bit and people will go back to their DVDs or Blu-rays. I don't know.
I'm tempted to go back and rewatch it myself. I have to be honest. I'm feeling a bit cruel actually on Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. I'll let you know if I get around to watching it this week. So anyway, 12 years ago. That 12 years ago. Even that's 12 years ago. Time go. 12 years. I know. So happy 12th birthday to Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, and there we go, and there they are, just sort of traipsing off into the sunset. And so finally this evening, we're wishing a bit of a heavenly birthday to somebody this evening. One Louis Mahoney, who would have been 86. Sadly, he died 4 years ago in June 2020.
He was in Blink, wasn't he?
Absolutely well done, Matt. Spot on. He played Billy Shipton in Blink back in 2007. But he was also, there he is on the bottom right, he was also in a story a lot earlier that somebody, I think Sadako24, has already mentioned in the chat for a reason. Sadako24 was comparing Dinosaurs on a Spaceship to Planet of Evil in a rather roundabout, weirdy sort of way. But there we are, top left-hand corner, Planet of Evil, because Louis Mahoney plays the character of Ponty in Planet of Evil, this from 1976. And he was also actually the newscaster in Frontier in Space way back in 1973. So he'd actually appeared in Doctor Who 3 times. Through the course.
I always forget about that third appearance. It's very fleeting, isn't it?
Very, very fleeting. I don't think he's even credited, as I recall, in Frontier in Space. So it's literally blink and you miss it. But Ponty in Planet of Evil, he's front and center right the way through Planet of Evil. And I have such distinct memories of Planet of Evil, and I just, for some reason, I just remember his characterization very, very clearly. He's a cracking actor.
He was great in both of these episodes. I remember. I mean, to be honest, there's nobody in Planet of Evil who's bad now. When I look back,
it's not.
It's not a story I rewatch a lot. I'm not particularly fond of it, but the cast is fantastic.
I love the effects in it. I love the effects.
I must be honest. I love Planet of Evil. Jack, have you watched Planet of Evil yet?
No, I haven't. No.
Oh, I love Planet of Evil.
You're in for a treat.
42. Yeah, there we go. Oh, you're quite right, Sadako24. I misquoted you. You are right. You did compare 42 to Planet of Evil. I'm still not quite certain I can see the connection, but I guess it's due to the spaceship being drawn back, etc. Anyway, doesn't matter. Planet of Evil, I think, is a cracking story. And Jack, I think you've got an absolute treat on the way for when you get round to this. And you will see the late great Louis Mahoney there. Louis was born in Gambia in 1938. He came to the UK to study to be a doctor, actually, before the acting bug bit him in the 60s. And he was certainly prolific. He has over 100 credits on IMDb to his name. He did a lot of stuff. So for example, Danger Man, Dixon of Dock Green, Z Cars, Faulty Towers. I'm guessing that's up on screen at the moment, probably, Dan. What would that have been? Would that have been
Crown Court, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm assuming that would be that. Faulty Towers. Yeah, he literally is in the... There we go. He's in the Germans episode as Dr. Thing.
I never even put two and two together that this was the same guy. I mean, obviously, he doesn't look that dissimilar to how he looks in Planet of Evil, but it's a completely different performance.
Exactly the same beard as in Planet of Evil. And a very, very memorable performance, in Faulty Towers. Also in The Professionals, in Miss Marple, yes, Prime Minister, Bergerac, The Bill, Casualty, Holby City. Do you want me to go on? He's just been in all of them.
I was going to say, what series wasn't he in?
He was film-wise, he did a lot of films as well. He was in T-Dwarf Productions. You've watched Planet of Evil. Let us know what you think. He was in Hammer's The Plague of the Zombies. He was in Omen.
I love Plague of the Zombies.
It's a cracking film, isn't it? He's in Omen 3. Anybody, any love for Omen 3?
Yes, I've got a lot of time for all three of the original Omen movies, the final conflict.
Me too. Love them all. So he's in Omen 3. And he's also in Live and Let Die.
Who is he in Live and Let Die?
He's a bit part in it. He's not a major part in it. I think he's one of the heavies. I think he's one of the heavies.
I know that film really, really well. Never noticed him.
Well, you have to it's another excuse to go back and watch it. He just did so much stuff. His very last, one of his very last roles was in the BBC Three drama Being Human. If anybody remembers.
The Toby Whithouse thing.
Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
So that was it. Bless him. He played Leo, a dying werewolf. Oh, she's rather sad, really. Yeah, he was a dying werewolf in Being Human. But his role in Blink, you're quite right in identifying that, Matt. Yeah, he's only in it very briefly, isn't he? At the end. I don't think he appears in the rest. I think he's only at the end, isn't he?
So it's at the midpoint. It's shortly after.
Is it the midpoint, Jack?
Yeah, shortly after the younger version of his character gets sent back in time by the Weeping Angels.
That's right. But it's a beautiful performance. And I have to be honest, I never realised at the time. It wasn't until the credits went up that I clocked who it was. I hadn't identified him.
Mm-hmm.
But he was.
No, I never put two and two together for years and years and years.
And it's nice because he was a tireless campaigner for racial equality in the acting profession. But it was nice that there he was being employed on Frontier Space in 1973, Planet of Evil in 1976. So this kind of casting did happen back then. We kind of think these days that it's only now that we have this kind of casting. It's not true. It's always been there, but it clearly needed fighting for to ensure that it got to the correct level. So we say he was a fierce campaigner for racial equality, and he established the equality movement against racism group, and he was also vice president of Equity. For a couple of years in the mid-90s, so he was a prolific guy, and he did his bit for
got a legacy,
racial equality within the industry.
I think it's just overdone now, to be honest.
But, no, it's a different kettle of fish now.
Yeah, but I mean, he was fighting against the tide in the 70s and that sort of thing. So
yes, he was, but as I say, certainly he was still keep getting his. He was on television, as say, an enormous amount, 100 credits to his name. It's 100 plus. Yeah, absolute hard worker. And as I just remember the performance as Ponty so clearly, as though it was yesterday, and yet I was only very young at the time, so it clearly left an impression on me. Happy birthday! Say he would have been 86, bless him, had he not died just 4 years ago. So happy heavenly birthday to Louis, wherever you are. Hope you're having a glass of Chianti on us.
One of the things I like best about the diary, Simon, is when we can sort of honour people like Louis, who who weren't just there sort of very fleetingly, but came back 2 or 3 times and had that external life and legacy as well. That we can say, okay, yeah, Doctor Who wasn't the be-all and end-all of their lives. They probably never didn't sign many DVDs and things like that. Never did a commentary, but it absolutely they were there. They were present. It's on that list of massive credits, and I think we should be proud that Doctor Who has had people like that who had prolific careers.
Yeah, absolutely. And as other people are saying in the chat, he was just a cracking actor, and he was a good actor, and that was why he got employed, and quite rightly too. And so happy 86th birthday, Louis.
I miss seeing lots of the old character actors from back in the day, and I do miss seeing them on TV. The familiar faces that would pop up, it's the guy from this or the woman from that. It's had that theatre feel.
You'd see them so many times. Sometimes you see them a couple of times in a week. You'd see the same actor on different shows. Juliet Bravo one night and Shoestring the next night.
We actually had I can't remember what the shows were, but I actually had one show after the other, and it had the same actor in it, and it was two totally different shows. And we were just looking at. I remember saying to my mum, I was like, we're just looking at each other, going, "That's the same guy." It's like, what? That doesn't make sense.
It used to happen a lot in the 70s and 80s. It happened a lot.
This was in the 90s and that. So
Ezra Goldstein is asking in the chat, was Louis in Blake 7? Do you know, I don't know, Ezra. I'm hoping somebody maybe can tell me in the chat whether Ezra was in Blake 7. I'll find out for you. I'll look it up now while we're talking through the next bit, and I'll report back in a moment.
Stephen Braddock says they all pop up on Talking Pictures TV, don't they all?